Well, certainly it's a vulgar exhibitionism on the part of Israel. Generally speaking, you would say this is Israel once again trying to prove to all its neighbors that it is the new regional hegemon, that it is the one that is, as Noor put it in her words, calling the shots in the Middle East. Supported by the United States, was able to bomb Beirut, Damascus, Tehran, Sana'a, and others. It feels now at this point in time that it is capable of dictating policy in the Middle East. It has been trying to dictate to the new government in Syria where and how to deploy its forces and why it shouldn't be deploying anything south of the capital without basically Israeli permission. At the same time, short of that, and right before Trump met with Bashara in Riyadh, Israel's really main goal has been to divide and weaken Syria, turn its minorities, whether they are Druze or Kurds or Alawites, against the central government in Damascus. And last but not least, there's, of course, the usual Israeli attempts at deflecting away from its genocide in Gaza by bombing and by saying it's going to be bombing for a good number of days, preparing for a wider campaign in Syria. You know, here we are, we're all busy with yet another Israeli aggression in a neighboring country. Of course, the Israelis, it bears saying, they're doing it to protect the minorities in Syria, in this case, the Druze. They have been carrying that lie now for 70 years. Since the 1950s, Israel has pretended to be the protector of minorities, like the French colonialists were, like the American imperialists were, the British, you know, every foreign power comes to the region and they want to be protectors of minorities in order to weaken countries in the region in order to impose their will. And here we have it again happening in Syria.
Marwan, as you just...
I think... probably like they reacted to the genocide in Gaza, right? There'll be rhetorical condemnation. There will be surprise and shock. There will be even depression. But the impotence will take over. The division among the Arabs will take over. Unless they will pleasantly surprise, their citizens and really do something more serious. Will the Egyptian government remain silent as it was, or remain silent, and I'm talking about actions, not words, when it came, for example, to the genocide in Gaza? Will the Arab regimes be okay with yet another capital being bombed, the Umayyad, as it were, in square in the middle of Damascus? Would they worry that it's their capital that might be next if Israel decides that it is indeed the hegemon and is going to be teaching everyone a lesson? My fear is that the Arab regimes, unlike the Arab streets, have been going from bad to worse, whether on the question of Gaza, Palestine, or on the question of Syria. They talk the talk, but they never walk it.
Here we are at C.H. Smith Marine, 189 Grange Road, Fairfield, Victoria.
Marwan, I want to just bring to you one of the latest lines that we've been hearing from Damascus, that the Syrian Druze religious leader, the Syrian government, to fully integrate the southern region of Al-Swaida within the Syrian state. And when we were speaking to our correspondent Zaina Khoda, she said that this involved the Syrian forces remaining in the south. We know that's something Israel says it doesn't want. What do you make of these latest developments? And what is Israel's next move, do you think?
Well, in principle, of course, it's a very good thing for the Druze in the southern part of Syria to agree first, and to agree to be part and parcel of the Syrian state second, and to accept the centralized government. The most important thing about those sorts of things, and just to generalize it for our viewers around the world who are not familiar with Syrian geography and ethnicities, is simply to say that for most minorities in most states in the world, what's important is that even if they are against a certain government, a certain ideology, a certain regime, that they still remain part and parcel of the state. Well, certainly they've been doing that since March, and in terms of in Syria and in the region in general, one of the doctrines of Israel since the 1950s, and it's actually a written thing, it's not analytical on my part, is that they wanted to reach out to and connect with various minorities within the Middle East and connect with non-Arabs within the Middle East. Of course, the Druze are Arabs, but for example, the Kurds and others, they thought, even Persians and so on and so forth. So Israel's idea of weakening the Arab states surrounding it through minorities and through non-Arab countries has been a doctrine in Israel since the 1950s. And it is in that sense that a colonial implant, as it's viewed in the Arab world, continues nonstop to divide its neighbors in order to be the more powerful one. And in fact, it succeeded, one must admit, that in the past year or so, by destroying much of Iran's defenses, by destroying much of Hezbollah's capabilities, by attacking and destroying much of Syria's military capability, by continuously bombing Yemen, they have been trying to establish themselves as hegemon. And not just any hegemon, they're trying to replace the United States as the Middle East hegemon. That's why, and I'm just going to go up in a limb now and say, some of those, pro-Israel voices in Washington are shocked, because what is Netanyahu doing exactly? I mean, didn't Trump shake, the Syrian president's hands in Riyadh and called him a handsome man? So why is Israel attacking the Syrian capital and attacking even the presidential palace without apparently clearing it with Washington? So the Netanyahu government clearly has gone off the ramp with its arrogance, and clearly, and really this is the most important thing of all for the long term for us as media, to state that international law dies in Israel every single day. International law dies in Israel every single day.